Welcome to the live service podcast, which is now just the artist formerly known as Live Service. Because
that's the joke we're going with, guns. Really?
yeah, I wanted to make a dead joke about a dead guy of music in the 80s that included vivid colors. I was watching Dave Chappelle last night, and he was telling that joke where he was meeting he was like crossing this police line, and he saw the mayor of San Francisco at the time, but he couldn't remember his name, so he just called him Batman. And so the cops were like holding up Dave Chappelle, like, well, you can't cross this line, everything like that. And Dave Chappelle saw the mayor of San Francisco, and he's just like, Batman, help! Because he couldn't remember his name, and he looked like Batman to him. and the mayor turns to Dave, and he's like, oh, word, what up, Dave? Come on in. I was just about to go meet Prince. He's like, you know Prince? I know Prince. I know Prince, too. And, they went into the restaurant, and it was Prince Charles. He didn't know him at all, but he dabbed him up and everything like that, hugged him, and you're not supposed to touch royalty or anything like that, but he did it anyway, and Prince Charles dabbed him back and everything, and that's how Dave Chappelle met the Prince Charles of England.
That's, okay.
You seem tired, Brian.
I actually am a little bit tired. I've had a busy morning, but I am excited to talk about some things today and talk with you.
And
I was not expecting to start this podcast with a facepalm from that joke, and then that actually interesting story. So
I think that's what makes Dave Chappelle's one of my favorite comedians, period. But I think what makes him such a good comedian, and I think this is how people relate to content. What I've learned from him is how people relate to content. We care about the story, and he's a great storyteller, but he fits jokes in between all of his stories, right? And because he's such a great storyteller, you listen and you're intrigued even when he's not telling a joke, which makes it that much better when the punchline just smacks you in the face like a 12-inch black dildo. Because you don't expect it. It's just out, and you're like, what the hell? But it's hilarious when it happens, and that's what works so well about it. Which is something I think the Halo TV show doesn't have.
Oh, we're segueing. I actually even, dude, I'm not caught up. So whatever you tell me is gonna spoil, and I don't care. Go ahead, because
I didn't. I quit watching after right. I didn't watch the season finale. After that,
is this the season finale?
The last episode was. After the penultimate episode, I was just like, nah, I'm out. I'm good. I don't need any more. I don't care. I don't care if the season finale announced Half-Life 3's launch date. I wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah, after the last episode, like, we have to reverse some memes. You know how there's like the Virgin so-and-so and the Chad so-and-so? We have to reverse that meme now. Because what the fuck was that?
The Virgin Chad Chief.
I honestly, no, we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, on the bright side, after this, we won't have a reason to talk about it anymore, ever again. And I'm honestly very excited for that.
I mean, no offense to the people that like the show, because apparently it's got like a pretty good viewing, like it's got good numbers. They're probably
offense.
Great.
Offense.
You guys
They're
watch
stupid.
it. I'm never gonna watch it.
I personally, I mean offense. I think those people are dumb and don't know how to. If you gave them a cup of farts and a cup of fine wine, they would probably prefer the cup of farts. That's how bad their taste is.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you got Paramount Plus, actually, instead of watching Halo, watch Mayor of Kingstown, watch the new Star Trek.
Don't watch the new Star. What? No, it's not.
Strange New Worlds.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Strange New Worlds, the one with Anson Mount.
I've not even heard of it.
Yeah, Strange New Worlds is the one with Anson Mount as the captain. It's not Discovery. Discovery just it's had
It's
good parts and then it's
Discovery,
had parts where I'm just like, what are you doing? Why are you
Star Trek
repeating this same story
Picard.
over and over? Strange
They're
New Worlds
both
just
just
came out
hilariously awful.
and it's pretty good. Mayor of Kingstown is probably the best thing on that service.
Yeah.
That along with like 1883 and Yellowstone and stuff.
We hadn't talked about like games in a major bit because we'd been kind of ranting about just media and stuff that we'd been watching, but you had been playing the new season of The Division here regularly, and
Yeah. I've been
I want
playing.
you to talk about it.
Yeah, I've been playing Second Life. The,
What?
as in the Division is getting a second life.
Oh, I thought you meant like that shitty MMO for a while.
No, yeah, that was my bad joke. That was my really bad joke.
I was really
but
confused. You know, go on. I'll wrap
it's
back
because
into it.
look, I don't know when you stopped playing the Division, but they put out like the last step update with Faye. It was years ago, so if I'm spoiling you, you're spoiling you. Where Faye goes evil
No.
and you have to hunt her down and kill her and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
All right, and then they were like, the Division's done. All right, they were like, this is done. We're done with this. Everything after this is maintenance mode, right? And that's what every season since has been. It's been maintenance mode, right? So there's been no reason to play the game. I actually quit before that one, but I remember hearing about what happened and all that stuff, right? And they moved everybody off the team and everything, and then there was enough like, people still playing the game, and then the stuff that happened with COVID, and then restructuring that happened at Ubisoft and stuff, and then people like requesting we still want more stuff. That they said, all right, who wants to come back to the Division 2? So they let people volunteer to come back. So only come back if you want to. And then they hired a whole new team on top of those people that volunteered to come back and started up production again. And it's they've got like over 50 people now, from what I've heard, that built this content we're working on now. They're still hiring more, and there's plans for more. Like the game's getting a literal second life. It's like, all right, full speed ahead again. Let's put content in. And what they put in this time, like on top of like the maintenance mode stuff they had, where you can get targeted farming and all this stuff, what they put in this time is pretty damn good. Like, I'm enjoying it. The new game mode countdown is like it's much better than the one where you gotta climb the levels and stuff like that. I'm forgetting the name of it now because I haven't played it. Countdown's awesome though. Like, Countdown's great. Countdown, for if you're wondering what it is, it's a new cooperative like matchmake thing, right? That's 8 players, and you usually split up into 2 teams of 4. Apparently, there's people that are good enough to solo it. I'm not that good. Maybe you guns, you know me. I'm casual at these games, but like what you're doing is you're in an area and you have to run around and do these randomized objectives, which are pretty fun. I like them. They're all enjoyable, except for like, there's always the one where you have to defend the person and the AI is dumb. But still, if your team knows what to do, it's not that bad. And that's the one of like 8 or 10 objectives or something like that you might randomly get that will take a little bit longer than the others, but it's still easy. And then after you get done with that objective based gameplay, jumping from one to the other, you all meet, after splitting up, you all group back up and complete it at an extract point where you have to hold the point until you can extract, and then signal the extract and then extract out. And it's fun. I mean, each round takes about 15-20 minutes or so. It's fast paced. It's a lot of fun. There's hunters in there that give it a little bit more variety, and just like what it drops, the loot, like this is the new way to farm loot, targeted loot. Just this is where you get it. Like, it is very, very rewarding, and I'm having a ton of fun with it. And yeah, that's the new game mode. The only thing I could say about that is, keep building on it. What you've put in there is great. I have no negatives to say about it. Just keep putting more stuff like that in. Give us more, more versions of it, stuff like that. It's great. Give us more objectives. Just keep building on top of it.
That's it a new mode and stuff like that is interesting. Like, I always thought, so I did play all the way up to when we killed Keener finally, and then Fei Lao turned out to be the bad dude or whatever. And I honestly, whenever that was all revealed, I just fucking rolled my eyes at it, especially with like the announcement. I mean, so what do you mean it's good? I thought it was terrible. Whenever they announced like, oh, no more division, and it's like, so you made Fei Lao and all these rogue agents the big bad guy, and now it just kind of ends. because they don't have one planned right now. That doesn't necessarily mean there won't be a Division 3, but they're just not. There's not one planned at the moment. They're making live service content for this one.
Yeah, they're actually continuing the story too. I just hadn't gotten to that part. They've actually decided to pick back up the story and start telling it, and they're telling it in a new way where there's like more cutscenes and more like time dedicated to certain things, where it's not constantly you just having to just like stop and listen to audio files and stuff. Those are still there,
Yeah.
but you get more time for them, and there's a lot more cutscenes and stuff. Just the way they're telling the story is actually like it's better. Like it's probably the best that Division 2 has ever had. Division 1, when it first launched, had like a lot of cutscenes and great storytelling, and then it just died after that. There was no story after that, you know? And then
Yeah.
Division 2, like the story was okay, but the way they told the story was just kind of it was kind of disjointed, and a lot of it was through the audio files and logs and stuff like that, and you just hearing stuff during a mission. They're taking a more like Destiny 2 approach, where there's a little bit more focus on the story, where it's told in a manner that's a little bit more enjoyable. Not like a full focus, but I just the way they're tackling the story now is a lot better than it used to be. Let's just put it that way.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I am kind of finding myself uncaring and burnt out for Destiny.
I did not know that. You know me, I quit, but I know. Isn't that wait?
Well,
Didn't they
it's
just announce the new season or something like that? Or wait, we're in the lull between seasons. That's why, right?
Well, no. The new season comes out Tuesday. But they haven't shown anything from it at all, which honestly has me more worried than anything else. Like, y'all haven't shown anything off for your new season, like, ooh, big secret. No, just fucking tell us like the week before with the trailer or whatever. Big ass secrets like that are stupid, especially when I'm paying for content. My thing with Destiny right now is that it's I want a complete story. Like, we've been going on this Destiny story for God knows how many years, and they're still not done. They've got 2 more expansions in them to finish telling the story, and the narrative leaps and stuff are interesting. I thought like Savathun was an interesting villain, but I felt like they could have done much more with her. And to be quite frank, I thought they could have, like, the plot was good. It had a couple of really good moments in the Witch Queen. There were some really great revelation moments where you're like, oh shit, because you thought you knew what was happening. You thought you knew the whole time, and then it's revealed like, oh, this is actually happening, and you're just like, wait, what? That was cool. And I don't want to spoil anything, so of course I'm talking vaguely. But that was the Witch Queen story compartmentalized into an expansion. Now I just feel like expansions are loose narrative threads tied between story bits from one to the next, and then they're just fucking they compartmentalize their own story, and that's it. So whatever Lightfall is gonna be probably the Witness's story compartmentalized into itself, and then the final shape is probably going to be the Traveler and the Darkness colliding, and whatever remains is the final shape. And that's their stories compartmentalized. What I hate about this so much is it's just they can't. The narrative is loosely tied together from beginning to end, which is enough for some people. But no, I want a narrative that makes sense from beginning to end. I want a story through and through that has a reason to be a story together. Destiny does not. Everything's compartmentalized, and I hate it. This is its own separate thing, and this is its own separate thing. And I guess I'm just getting older to the age that I'm like, I don't want to wait 3 years to be told a fucking story. Like, I wanna enjoy content at my leisure, not at the leisure of, well, when we finish, like you could have made a completed in the 7 years that Destiny's been out, you could have told the entire story that you needed to from front to back to finish it and moved on to your next game, but you didn't. You've milked it for 7 years. That's what I hate.
Some of the seasons were good. Like I had a lot of fun, but the fact that they were disconnected and were really just, filler. You find out at the end that's that's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
I can totally get that. But yeah, it's just to get back to Division, because I still got a few more things I want to talk about. I'm just impressed with how they've upped their storytelling, like the way they're telling the story, and I hope they continue it going forward. And to make fun of Halo again, I'm sorry, I have to. Remember how we looked at season 2 of Halo and we're like, this is lasting for 6 months and there's like 6 things on this. There's barely anything on this. Well, this is they made it with a small team and they're still ramping up and everything. And there's something new every 2 weeks from now until August. Till the
that's
end of
really
August.
good. I mean,
something new. Like there's a new target, then a league, then a global event, then a new target, then a league, then a global event, then an apparel event, then another new target. Like they're just cycling through. Like every 2 weeks, there's new stuff.
The new leagues and the targets and the global events are cool, but I do find them. This is the problem that I'm having with a lot of live service content. Is much like ourselves, it just repeats the same thing over and over again. Like we keep talking about Halo, just slightly different, right? So a new target is a new person to kill in a new location with maybe a different encounter, and that's really it. So they're just, that's really all you can expect out of a new target. And then global events, from what I remember in Division 2, is just modifiers that change how certain things behave, and some of the modifiers are, I think they have like a standard set of modifiers. Like I know there was one like headshot kind of multiplier, or there was one that was like an infected tag where you killed somebody in an AoE radius burst and then they were infected and they took increased damage and stuff like that.
They have. I mean, these events they've got like they're calling them. It's reanimated, golden bullet, Hollywood, shade exposed, guardians, and polarity switch. I'd have to look up what each one is. But I mean, even if it's not a ton of content, they're also doing these things called like mission takeovers, where they're just like the targets are like taking over older missions and changing it. So you have to run that mission in a new way now with a new boss and new. That's actually pretty cool. I actually think that's and depending how they keep doing that. It's pretty cool so far, and it's you're working your way through the targets to get to the boss. So I get that, but that's the drip fed content. The main thing about this drop was the new game mode and the new like way that you progress. They have a new progression mode in here, and then there's the season pass that drops all the items. Like the new Heartbreaker set is like built for me, man. I fucking love it. They introduced a new gear set. 2-piece bonus is 15% AR damage and 15% LMG damage. Guess what 2 weapons I run in my build, guns?
LMGs and AR.
Yes, and then the grenade launcher. But yeah, and then the 3-piece is like weapon handling, and then the 4-piece is where when you headshot someone, it pulses them and hits on pulsed enemies, add and refresh like 1% armor and damage. So like I'm just like, oh, I just this. The gear set, people are loving it. Like everybody's loving it. It's becoming meta pretty fast, up there with all the other builds. But it's just like almost like tailor made for me. I'm like, this is great. The new exotics they put in are amazing. They're already all like, they're all viable. They're all like being put in game builds already. They're great. Like they balance them very well. My only negative for that is the division's very good about giving us like really cool looking weapons,
Yeah.
These 2, like the marksman rifle called Dread Edict, and then the blue screen, which is an LMG. They're not bad, but they're not like what I was expecting from like brand new exotics. I expect them to look a little bit more cool. Like there's much cooler looking weapons, but they also literally just got the team back together and started this. So I assume when they pick it back up, there'll be more to go. So everything you can earn through the season pass and all the new, the free stuff, and then the paid part of it is great. And then last thing, there is a new progression mode called expertise. It's like a long form, like slower progression thing where you earn
Mm-hmm.
proficiency with items. You can improve like certain stats of an item, right? So like for weapons,
Oh,
it's
okay.
like the weapon damage. For gear, it's like the armor value, and then like skill damage, skill healing, status effects, stuff like that. So like you earn expertise, you earn proficiency to rank up your expertise, and then you can spend that to like gain expertise in items. And it's very long form. It's going to take a long time to max out. I think they're going to need to do some balancing in it because I think it like max you can get like 20% extra damage to a weapon, right, which is going to take a long time, but that's great. You want long form, progression to your game. But also like for the armor, you can get like 20% armor. Well, the armor scales off base armor, so 20% armor doesn't scale the same way 20% damage does, so it feels a lot weaker. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think they need to adjust that. But it's cool that there is this other progression mode to go on top of the Shade Watch to just make your character better and better at their builds, and it's automatic. Like the more you play, it's automatically going to level up, and you can invest like weapons and resources into it to level it up faster. But as long as
So
you're playing, you're progressing. Period. No matter what you're
that
doing, if you're playing, you're
sounds
progressing.
that sound you can only say it so many times, Brian. That sounds exactly like New World's expertise system.
I never played New
Uh
World. It might be the case, but I gotta
you
say I
you
like it.
play so I hate it. You you play, and as you play you get resources, gypsum, to put into armor or to create new pieces of armor that have a higher stat. And this is what you continually do to get that expertise a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher, to just gradually push that boundary. And it's just like constant reinvestment into a single piece of gear over time. Um, and quite frankly, that kind of like minor incremental grind is mind-numbingly boring to me because it doesn't feel like progression. Um,
I guess I can see where you're coming from. For me, it's because of the way they're doing it. Like I can automatically earn experience towards it. I don't have it's not like tied to like I have to farm this one thing, and then
sure.
like I can donate all materials if I get like another version of that gun that I don't like the stats on. I can donate that to it to help progress it, and it's giving me a reason to like switch my build and progress other try other things because I want to progress that as well. Uh, so
Aside from the giving the same weapons to it or whatever, yeah, it sounds very, very similar to um very similar to the expertise system in New World. And it's just I hate that tiny little incremental, like, oh, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, and it's just because it's like I do 68 instead of 67 damage now. Woo! Like, ugh, really? That's the that's what kills me about it. It's like, oh, that's the content we're going for here, I guess. Which maybe is subversive or whatever, but eh. Um, but I tell you what has not been that way, that I have been playing a huge amount, which has huge, interesting leaps in content,
I was actually
and
going to
is
ask you about this.
from one of my favorite developers that. Okay, I wouldn't say they're one of my favorite developers. They made a game I enjoyed an incredible amount, and now this is their second game. Stunlock Studios made Battle Right. I loved Battle Right. I still do. If I had people to play it with, I'd go fucking play it because I love the combat of Battle Right. It is so good and intense. There's so many nuanced things to learn about the combat of Battle Right, what works together, what doesn't work together, how these things interact, and how it operates in combat. And that's for every character. There was so much nuance to the combat of that game. but it was all arena-based PvP, or top-down arena-based PvP, like a MOBA, like League of Legends. Think if League of Legends was just team fighting. That was Battlerite, and I loved it. Fast forward now, this is their new game, V Rising. And it's funny because I feel like vampires are making a comeback. Because Vampire the Masquerade, Swan Song, and Blood Hunt the BR. I'm so sick of BRs, but I actually enjoyed Blood Hunt to a degree. Because of how interesting it was. And we just really haven't had vampire stuff in a while. And so like it's nice to have vampires again. I feel like they're making a comeback because we're getting Blood Hunt 2 or Blood Hunt, Swan Song, the it's almost like a Telltale game but for vampires. And then eventually we're supposed to get Vampire the Masquerade 2, but that's been delayed until the studio gets their shit together or they find somebody else to, you know, figure it out. But
Then we need to get Embracer to reboot Legacy of Kain.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about Embracer and to get some good news coming out of that if you hadn't heard. But so V Rising is Stunlock's newest game that I've been playing, and it has all the finite, intricate, interesting details of combat for you to learn. There are some weapons that some weapons and some animations I straight up recognize from Battlerite, but they put like a new flavor text to skin on them and new lighting effects and particle effects and whatnot, which is fine. You know, them reusing those assets of Battlerite, which was a lightly played game, into V Rising, which is wildly suddenly more popular than Battlerite ever was. V Rising's hugely popular. Especially compared to Battlerite, is so cool. It's so nice. There's some things that I recognize, like they have a weapon that's like 2 dual blades that you hold like tonfas on your arm. And you swing around and stuff like that. That's a weapon straight from a character named Croak. From Battlerite, who is a frog that I really like playing him because he had a bunch of Invenom stuff and whatnot. But what's so fun about this game is that there is a story there, semi Dark Souls like, where all these bosses that you fight, you can read about them in this journal. And it tells you about the progression, what they did in the world, who they are, where they're at, blah, 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 all this stuff. And then when you kill these bosses, you get certain items for crafting progression. You get new spells to use in combat. You get new items to craft to increase your gear score, which increases your power level. And they have a really simplified system for progression that is simple but seems complexingly brilliant. And is balanced around PvP because this game has that magical PvP flair that Battlerite did. It has great PvP. And I'm playing on a PvE server at the moment. I absolutely, at some point, want to go play on a PvP server where you start out with all your abilities. You can choose your armor and your weapons that you want, and you have the spells unlocked, and you go into an arena and you just beat the shit out of other people. Because that would be so... the combat is such a high skill cap. It's insane. This is a top-down isometric game. There are bosses that turn into straight-up shmups, which a shmup is a shoot-em-up bullet hell. If you've never played one of those, you know one of those games where it's like... Oh, yeah, Mike B...
That term.
I think I don't know that Mike B has coined it. He may have stole it from somebody else, but I heard it from Mike B. Shmup is largely referred to as a twin stick. So if you have, you know, a twin stick controlled
Yeah, 26
where you
years.
like, yeah, and then their bullet hells, or mechanics like that. There's a ton that I can refer to. Let me see here. Enter the Gungeon, I guess. Yeah, Enter the Gungeon is actually a really good one. Nuclear Throne, Helldiver, Ruiner, Hotline Miami, Geometry Wars. So that kind of game, right? Um, it has moments that are straight up like that. Like there are bosses that have some insane mechanics and hundreds of projectiles on screen. There are bosses that have mechanics that are just summoning other types of units into the mix that you have to deal with. There are mechanics where you get teleported to another plane of existence and have to dodge like 6 or 7 abilities in a row. There are mechanics where intricate movement is a necessity to stay alive. I mean, this game's got all kinds of really fun stuff that will seriously test you, and it has an absolutely wonderful sense of combat about it. Because of who they are and you know their previous experiences with battle right. um the the base building is easy enough that it's not like Valheim where you're going to spend thousands and thousands of hours, or could spend thousands of hours creating a base. It's all fairly bog standard and kind of fits together, and you know you do this, you do that, blah blah blah, snaps together nice and easily. um what is different is that it is very much like Valheim in that you go to a new area, you find new resources, you get these new resources to craft these new gear, you kill some bosses to unlock new spells and recipes for gear, and new buffs and stuff like that. But it's got all kinds of fun stuff in it. Like it's got a thrall system. You can take you can dominate people, and you can put them in a you can turn them into your thrall, and they'll do your bidding for you. They'll go out and they'll gather resources, or you can turn them into a prisoner if they have a high blood percentage, which I'll explain that in a second. And you can drain blood from them and keep them alive by feeding them rats and stuff like that. Shit's hilariously cruel and fun. But like, so every creature has there's no food or water in this game because you're a vampire, but every creature has a blood percentage, and there's all kinds of different blood types. So there's things, the blood types include things like brute, scholar, warrior, rogue, worker. And they all have different effects. So for instance, the brute will give you the brute. Every blood type has like 4 different effects. So if I feed on an animal that has that blood type, I'll get that effect. Okay. So if I feed on somebody that has a brute, I'll get like 12% lifesteal on melee attacks. But then the next, and
so is it?
It has.
Is it? I guess to ask that, is it like each specific? You just learn like, all right, these types of enemies have this blood type, or is there like an indicator or?
There's an indicator and it's random.
Oh, okay.
There's an indicator. So sometimes they'll have this blood type, sometimes they'll have a different blood type. Um, so most of the time, so a creature will almost always have a creature blood type. And the creature blood type does things like increase movement speed and increase crit chance and things like that. One of them, the scholar. Scholar increases your spell power by like 12% because you have spells, right? Increases your spell power by like 12%. And it also increases your spell crit chance and your spell crit damage. And then like one of the 4th tier. So every one of them has 5 tiers. The 5th tier is always increase all of the previous 4 abilities by 30%. Okay. But the 4th tier in Scholar is like every time you cast a spell and it hits a target, there's a 30% chance your spell automatically cools down, resets its cooldown. So there have been occasions where I cast a spell and then immediately just cast the spell like 3 more times because it'll proc multiple times in a row. And it's just like boom, 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 and it's so fucking cool. And it can also happen with like ultimates and stuff like that. So I've cast an ultimate before and like immediately cast it again. And you have a traditional dodge ability. Not only do you have a dodge ability, you have 2 main attacks, which are they can be anything from just a literal attack to a like projectile to an AoE to a reflect or a shield to a rage mode. And then you have ultimates, which vary wildly. There's straight up like a Steel Wind Strike variation from D&D, where your character throws down an AoE area and then just bounces between all the targets, doing huge amounts of damage to everything in the area, and it's hilarious. It's really good. The combat and everything on it is fantastic. I like it.
I've been seeing quite a few people playing it. It's been popping up in my server because I've got that like game statistics bot that like tracks what everybody's playing and then posts every day. And it's been like first and second place and stuff. And I've been like, man, people are really digging this game. I need to check it out. It sounds like it's got a lot of like they put in a lot of. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's not even out yet. It's like open beta or early access or something.
Yeah, it's early access, and this is if you told me it was early access, I wouldn't believe you. It is the most complete early access game I have ever seen in my fucking. This is one of those cases of like, yeah, this is how you do early access. The early access shit where it's like, yeah, we decided to go early access to help the funding of our game, blah, 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 where it's like a half-baked game with incomplete, but like the game has a few bugs, but it is very feature complete. What it's missing is content. But when I say it's missing content,
it sounds like they put in the time for all the systems to have like the deep, systems. And I was just curious how much like actual like gameplay content was, like stuff you play through was there.
It's got about 70 to 80 hours worth of gameplay content.
That's you don't need to be early access. Just fucking release. That's good.
That's exactly. I'm like, this is a full release game. What do you mean this is early access? But they say it's. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll take it. More to come. ... Motherfucker. I'm fine with that. Doesn't bother me one bit. Yeah, more to come. I'm super stoked for it. To be honest with you, it's so cool. There's so much cool shit in this game already. And it already feels like there's a beginning and an end to this game. Like the final boss in the game it's a big build up. It's a big section when you get to this boss, and there's apparently there's a whole nother section of the map after this game that they are already working on. That already has content, and it's on the map. You can see where it's at, and it's like, okay, we're going here next.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just on Steam at the moment, right?
I believe so. Early access on Steam for $20, and for fucking 80 hours, it's a hell of a steal. I have been blitzing through the content for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's fun to play on a server where there's a ton of other people, because you can have like, I mean, shit, we've had 10 to 15 people in a single boss fight. And the thing is, the boss's health doesn't necessarily scale. Some bosses have a ridiculous amount of health anyway. But the boss's abilities do scale. So if you normally fight a boss where they summon like 2 or 3 skeletons, instead they summon like 10 skeletons. And it just becomes this insane fucking madhouse of mechanics. I was fighting this priest last night, Raziel. and he summons this little light node thingy that if you get too close, it sucks you in and traps you for a second. And when it sucks you in, he turns and shoots a blast of holy light at you because you're kind of like triggering his ability. And that was cool and all. When I was fighting him by myself, only one or two of these things showed up at a time. And so you kill him, you destroy him from a distance so you can move around the arena freely. Well, whenever he fucking whenever he decides to whenever multiple people are fighting him, I should say, instead of him summoning one or two things, he just summons like 10 of them at a time. So suddenly there's 10 traps on the ground that suck people in. So he summons all these and they go and then people just get sucked into it. And he starts firing off all these holy rays. And so people are just running around screaming on fire in this church. This shit is the most intense, hilarious stuff I've ever. I love it. And there's integrated voice chat, so, you know. There's so much good fun to be had in this game. But it's on Unity. It's made with Unity, so you know people are going to mod the holy fuck out of this, right? On top of that, not only is it in Unity, but they're going to allow people to mod the fuck out of it. So we're going to get stuff where there's probably people will probably make more bosses. People will probably make more loot progression. People will probably make world tier drops. But there's also PvP that I want to get interested in, and there are PvP servers. And I want to get into one where you start out with all the gear and all the abilities that you want, so you have these big ass, long drawn out fights with people. I think it'd be super interesting.
So I've been, while you're talking about this, I'm listening to you, but I'm also doing some research. And from what I can see here, the devs said it's in early access now. They just released early access. They plan on working on it for about a year, maybe less, and then like pushing it out. And what they want is throughout that early access up to launch, they want to put in new updates, primarily in the form of more features and then world content. So apparently, all these systems and features that you're loving so much, they ain't done yet. That's what they're at.
Here's how the more content part would be cool, dope. That's what I'm looking for the most. Here's what I don't understand. What more features? What more could you fucking add? I don't understand.
I don't know what they have planned. This was just a quote from from the studios, Stunlock Studios, like from this Dexterra when they interviewed them. This is what they got.
This game feels so feature complete already.
I hope there's in game dev there's like different types of content that like players interact with, right? And then there's actual like content, which is what you're playing through,
right?
And everything like it. And then there's systems, which is like the what and why, and there is a such thing as systems bloat, where it just like you get too much. There is a point where you want to have enough systems and you want each of your systems to have depth, but if you put in too much, so
I don't think that'll be an issue for them, to be honest with you. They have done such a good job.
Well, this is also a survival game, so the systems are usually pretty deep in those games. So
yeah, it is a survival game.
It looks pretty awesome. That the thing that has me, I'm like looking at it, and I'm once they get this like feature complete and content complete, they should try to put it on the consoles, because it looks like it'll work on a console. And
absolutely.
Diablo on a console is beyond fucking popular. So if they put this on there, it would blow up. Like it's already blown up on Steam, but if they put it on a console, it'll blow up again.
This is my indie game of the year. I don't think there's anything that will come close to beating this. I really do not. It just seems impossible to me that anything's going to be as good as this. The rest of the year.
Convinced me to purchase it.
It's worth it. Find a server to play on, and I mean, hell, you could even come play on the BFF server. It's fantastic. Love it to death. I've still probably got at least 2 or 3 more days before I kind of reach the end of content. Because I've blasted through a few things. But there's still, it's still quite a bit.
You know me, I play games slow, so
Yeah,
I'll be playing this thing for a few months.
you can
probably.
you can totally you can take it at your own pace and anything like that. It's fantastic. Um, love it to death. Yeah, that's what I've been doing, and I don't think it's gonna stop. I've got like probably 2 or 3 more big days left with it, playing it, before I've kind of reached the end of content. But I mean, like, I've played it a week straight. I'm at 40 hours at the moment, and I've blitzed through some sections. I'm easily gonna hit 50-ish. And then I really want to get into like the PvP stuff. I want to dive into it and see what it's like. So there's a lot to see, man. A lot to see, a lot to do.
It looks very good. It's already got some DLC, but it's basically like the DLC isn't content. It's just like a.
Oh,
It
founders
looks
pack
like
stuff, yeah.
yeah, it looks like just stuff for like decorating your home where you build.
Yeah, a lot of decoration in that. I mean, like I said, the system is super simple, but it works. A lot of the homes that you want, homes can look similar, but with effort and flair, they can also look very unique. So, yeah.
And I'm sure. I mean, this is an easy cash cow to like put more stuff like this in the game, like more decoration stuff, and you can
Yeah.
put some in for free and put some in for DLC, and that's an easy cash cow right there.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, you've pretty much convinced me. After I did sit down and watch you play it for like an hour or so one night when I was chilling eating my dinner. I've heard people in my server talking about it because we have the game statistics thing that watches, tracks what people are playing, and before all my D&D games we have a chat like how was your week, what have you been doing, what you up to. So people have been talking about it, and then I just literally just now purchased it on Steam, so got the download pause so it doesn't mess up our podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's a ton of fun. There's all kinds of like cool abilities too, like you get to turn into a frog and a bear and a bat and a wolf and
You know what's funny?
mm,
When we did the previous podcast, when we did like the older podcast, it seems like we've switched places just in this instance. Because when we did the older podcast, it would have been you that was going back to like the live service division game, getting into it hardcore, and me that was playing like the weird indie game. And now we've kind of switched this time around. I just thought of that.
I just think my taste for things is changing as I'm getting older. I still really like some hardcore PvP games. I like to get into a good system that encourages player combat and that is robust and complex. Um, I still love shooters. Shooters are always going to be like at the heart of what I love, but there's only so many ways you can point and click a guy in the face.
Yeah, it's. I didn't mean it in any bad way. I'm just saying it's like cycles. You know what I mean? Like, you play a certain type so much, you're like, all right, I need to play some other stuff for a while, and then I'm kind
Yeah.
of like this. The division, I'm having fun with it. It'll hold me probably for like another month, and then I might pop in and see like the end of the season and what they got going on, and then see what's next season. But I already know what I'm playing next, V Rising, so I'm good.
Yeah, it's dope. And I look forward to more from it.
Now,
This has been great for me because to be honest with you, um well, it's not that time of year yet, but the day before was delayed
oh,
till
did it actually?
2023.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't even delayed till like late 2022 or whatever. They're switching to Unreal Engine 5. So it was straight up delayed for a year, like a solid year. And I'm just like, oh man. I was really like hoping to pick that up this summer. and play it. But apparently, like, the game is, they say, but developers will say fucking anything these days, which is why I don't trust them. They say the game is feature complete. They just have to transition everything over to Unreal Engine 5. They're doing this for the longevity of the game, and that it's easier for them to implement systems and stuff like that. And I'm like, sure. And Cyberpunk said there would be an interesting police system where they chase you down, and faction, and so, like, I don't know, dude.
Yeah, maybe I'm not understanding what they mean when they say it, but when you say something's feature complete, I just have to switch it over to Unreal 5. There is no switch over to a new engine. You build it, like, yeah, the feature works in
Oh
this
no,
engine.
there
There's no
is. No,
switch to a
no.
new one. You literally have to
There
build that feature
totally.
in the new engine.
No. There totally is from even from, like, if I was going from, like, Unreal Engine to Unity, there's absolutely switching stuff over. Literally, if you have codes or anything like if you have a feature that works in your Unreal Engine 4 version of the game, you can just copy pasta the code into Unreal Engine 5. So the
Wait, are they
transition,
using Unreal 4? Is that what
they're using Unreal 4 and they're going to Unreal 5.
Okay.
But
All right,
but
now I understand. Because no, in Unity it's a different programming language.
but it didn't matter. Even it's the same thing. If you were going from Unity to Unreal Engine 5, or if you were going from Skyrim's creation or Bethesda's creation engine to Unreal Engine 5, you have your textures and your models built. Models usually accompany in a type of STL file or a three-dimensional file that can vary in broad shapes. Importing all your assets would be time consuming, but it wouldn't take that hard.
That's not features. That's different.
Yes, no. Sometimes you need assets for features to work. Importing your code over, again, is fairly easy. It would be more complicated with some engines, which don't necessarily work on the same code basis. But otherwise, nah, it'd be pretty easy.
Maybe. I don't know. But speaking of delays...
Oh, I do know. I know this because I've been doing it recently.
Speaking of delays, in the week we took off, we got big delay news. Starfield. We had a big discussion about, like, later this year we're going to be playing it, and now it got delayed. And I know a lot of people are, like, upset and everything like that, and I'm kind of like, man, well, what's Xbox got coming out this fall? I hope they fill it with something come the June showcase. But other than that, I'm kind of like, yeah, go ahead, delay it, and get it right. That's what we want, Bethesda. Like, like, you used to delay games or just not talk about them at all until they were ready. And then the Fallout 76 thing happened. So, sure, it's a good game now, but that's years later. We don't want that with Starfield. We want it to come out and be good. So go ahead and delay it. I'm okay with that.
So there's two ways that I look at Bethesda. When a game is published by Bethesda, half the time it's actually being published by ZeniMax, not Bethesda. ZeniMax is publishing it. They just use the name of Bethesda because Bethesda was a company that had a lot of good merit behind it at one point before Fallout 76, right? And people recognize Bethesda. If you say Bethesda to most people, they'll say, oh, the guys that made Skyrim. If you say ZeniMax to most people, they'll say, Hootamax? So that's why they say Bethesda, right? 76, Fallout 76 is one of those situations. That game wasn't made by Bethesda. That was made by ZeniMax, other studios pushing it together. I know they say, oh yeah, everybody worked on it. No, they didn't. You're a fucking liar. If everybody worked on it, Todd would have looked at that and been like, this is a piece of shit. Okay? Because while Elder Scrolls games and Fallout games ship, and they are buggy, and you can make criticisms about them being perfect or just good, you can't deny that they aren't fun, and they aren't at least good, above average. Are they great? No. Fallout 3 I thought was a really good game, especially for its time. Fallout 4 was good. Wasn't great, it wasn't fantastic, but it wasn't mediocre average. There was still a lot of stuff I really enjoyed in there, and Fallout 4, a lot of people say, is probably the worst Fallout that's come out of Bethesda, and I would agree. Story-wise and whatnot, is the worst Fallout that came out of Bethesda.
DLC was awesome. But yeah,
Some of it was pretty
even
cool.
then, I think it was a above average game.
Yeah, exactly, right. And I mean, obviously, everybody's favorite is New. You say New Vegas, and people are like, "Whoa," and New Vegas is great, but that truthfully wasn't
also
actually.
has its problems, but people.
It also
tinted
wasn't made by
glasses on that.
Bethesda. It was made by Obsidian. So yeah. I think when Bethesda traditional puts out a game, it's genuinely pretty good. My concern or my wonder is this. Was this game delayed because it's just not ready and it still needs a lot of work? Or was this game delayed because Todd saw it or somebody at Xbox saw it and they were like, "Oh, you were going to publish this? Like, bro, this is just another classic Bethesda mess of being a buggy shit show at launch. We can't have that this day and age. That's no, not happening. We're delaying it. You're going to fix all these bugs." So I wonder which one of those stories happened. I guess we'll find out come probably March 2023.
I think we'll find out a little bit more next month too, because while it's got delayed, I mean, come on, we still haven't seen any gameplay, and their big showcase is next month. We've got to at least see something about it. Yeah, it's delayed, but you got to show me something about it, right? Like, show me some gameplay.
If we don't see anything about it, that's very concerning, right?
Yeah, at the moment, I'm like, delay it. I'm fine. Polish it up. Make it good. But if we see nothing about it at the showcase, or like anytime during the summer, then I'm actually worried because the delay was for a much worse reason, and I'm like, ooh, you know. So
But
yeah, I
even
guess
still,
I gotta wait till the showcase to really, yeah.
even still, when games are delayed, oftentimes they like Cyberpunk was delayed twice, and Cyberpunk showed us footage of a vertical slice that looked amazing, and the game was nothing like that. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. I'm concerned, but we'll see in probably we'll see in June, but yeah.
Yeah, I've still got my hopes for it though. But so I've also been extremely busy this week. I got a new D&D game up and running and stuff like that with some new people starting all that. So I've kind of missed some of the news. You said something happened with Embracer. What did I miss?
They kind of formally announced that yes, there is Tomb Raider games planned in the future, as well as Deus Ex sequels, prequels, and other transmedia.
Really?
Yeah,
like we knew Crystal was working on a new Tomb Raider, but not Tomb Raider games. Does this mean a new trilogy? That would be interesting. Because I'll be honest, the modern trilogy that Crystal did, I actually liked it. I thought it was good. So I'm excited to see what they do next.
To be honest with you, I don't give a shit about Tomb Raider. I hate it.
Without Tomb Raider, like let's be honest, the original Tomb Raiders, like we wouldn't have games like Uncharted and like just
I never
lot
cared
of
for
like
Uncharted.
base game design that we have today was like built off of like Tomb Raider. Like, come on.
A lot of platformers were built off Tomb Raider. I hate platformers.
Well, you're wrong.
All right. So says he. No, let's see. Let me find so it was a financial report. And in this financial report, they purported remakes for Tomb Raider, being made in Unreal Engine 5. Another continual reboot. Stated that there's a great level of enthusiasm for fans over more than just sequels and classic remasters.
Legacy of Kain, come on, do it, Embracer.
they expect the deal to close this fall.
Yeah, they've got to wait the time. It's technically not done yet, but from what I've heard, nothing's gonna stop it. This one's gonna close. It's not like the Activision one, which will take a little longer, you know.
Yeah, it's they're very much like kind of leaning into. Hang on, let me go find. Jesse Cox made this tweet, so it's easy to find.
I was kind of curious because, like, what is it? Eidos Montreal did Guardians of the Galaxy, and like we don't know what they're working on now. Everybody's like, all right, Guardians is done. It was a good game. Didn't sell that great, but it was a good game. What's next? And we like, what's the studio working on? Maybe it's Deus Ex.
Yeah, here you go. Let me copy this and send it to you. So, Tomb Raider and Deus Ex sequel plans.
Oh, that horrible website. Sometimes they get some good stuff.
Remakes, spin-offs, transmedia, and other options confirmed by. So basically, like I think they're not officially now announcing anything, but they're saying, we know. We know, and we know you know. I think that's basically what's going on here. Is like, yeah, they're acknowledging
Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, and Legacy of Kain. Yeah.
Why does everybody say Deus? It's Deus.
Deus Ex. Sorry.
It's not just you. It's like everyone's like, huh, Deus, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Shitty Revelations? What? It's so confusing. But anyway, yeah, I am super interested in it. In all of that moving forward, I want to see what they do. There's a couple other things I'm also interested in. Summer is always that dry time for video games, so like we're fighting and scrapping at every little bit of thing we can get. Even podcasts like to go. So for instance, I watch Drop Frames a lot. They are planning themselves another break for summer because there's just like nothing going on, and they just came off of a 4-week hiatus because there was nothing going on. Like they didn't have anything to talk about. So what do you talk about then? You know?
Yeah, I was actually talking with a friend about how like everything's being delayed from this year and pushed back and stuff. Like I think this is going to be another year where we have like 1 or 2 big titles and the rest of it's indie titles. That happens some years where stuff gets, I don't think God of War is coming out this year. I think it's going to get delayed.
I don't think so either, and I think it'll be incredibly interesting for it to be delayed, to be honest with you. I'm super interested in what else will be delayed this year, and if God of War is. A lot of people don't understand how COVID has affected the gaming industry. I had this in my chat a few days ago. Somebody was literally like, "Oh, well, work from home's not that hard. And, well, why is it affecting them that much?" And it's like, when you work in an office environment and to communicate with your teammates about a project or a transfer of files or anything, when you work at an office and you have a network system built where you can just send Ted a file seamlessly with no security checks or anything or none of that, and just send it to him and it's there on his desktop and it's like boop, because you have an internal 10 gigabyte network, right? Or when you can lean over to your coworker and talk to them about that file or that bitmap or whatever, or that art piece that you were working on.
I'll do you one better. Developer consoles, what they actually develop on, those are locked in certain rooms at the office. They don't get sent home. The only way to test and run stuff from home is to connect through like a virtual connection, which then you have like lag and delay, and you can't do it properly. Like it's
Well, and that's if you're developing on a console. Not everybody is.
that's
But I
what I'm
mean, if
saying.
you
Like
were for, you know, it's very different per each one. But the other thing is that not to mention that, you know, not I know this sounds really weird and shocking. Not everybody that works in video games plays video games.
not weird or shocking at all to me. I understand
And
completely.
some people are thinking
It's like
that's
that's their job.
impossible. Yeah, exactly. Some people it's like they're 3D artists. How did you know for gaming for many 3D artists is a revelation of a job because they never thought they'd get paid $70,000 to $80,000 a year to draw art for games or anything like that, right? Or be 3D animation artists or be coders or whatever, you know.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's people you think would be game players, like actual like programmers and systems designers, but they're really just like they enjoy the problem solving aspect and the coming up with the stuff, but they
Mhm.
don't actually play
Mhm.
it. They're like, all right, I've solved the problem, I've done it,
I
move
mean,
on next.
that's
You
not
know,
everybody. We're talking about a very small, specific amount of people. So, but you know, not when you develop at an office, you're usually doing it on a very powerful computer. Um, not everybody has those at home. So when you send everybody to work from home, and suddenly half of your employees need powerful computers service to them, the logistics of getting that out to everybody and documenting who has what and where it's at and for how long they're going to have it, or are they out that's or what if they need maintenance, what if there's a problem within a home, that's a lot of fucking work and resources and man hours and shit you got to put together that you didn't have to beforehand
and a lot of times it's
because it
easier to
was
send them a
just
smaller virtual machine and they just log
it
into the
be
one in the office.
yeah, but how many so there's a ton of solutions and a ton of, you know, different bullshit. um
Yeah, it had a huge impact, and it's not like, oh, the impact's over. No, this is gonna be felt for the next few years, in like
yeah.
delays and releases and things. It's just the way it's gonna be. I
Hmm.
mean, people were talking about like I saw someone post on something that it's time to for some of these games that I play. They're like it's time to drop last gen support, and I'm like, sure, let's drop 80% of the market because
Yeah, so that
most of the
but this
market
is a
still doesn't have PS5 and Xbox Series X
this is such a
because there's
weird
still a
thing
shortage.
though. This is such a weird thing though when you think about it, because when have we ever been in this position? Normally you have last gen support for 1 to 2 years. You usually all the games that come out for on last gen come out on next gen for like at least the first year. Then afterwards they kind of shift to next gen, right? This recent console release, they're putting games on everything with multiple modes of scalability now, which is great. But one of the big reasons why they're doing it is because the price of consoles and hardware has skyrocketed. You know, you're talking the difference between a $299 version to a $600 version console for maximum pay. You want a gaming PC on your fucking coffee table? Here, you know, like
Yeah,
that
and
kind of shit, right?
most of the market hasn't, like I know you talk to people so it feels like they do, but the majority of the market has not switched to the new generation yet because they just don't have the money or the supply to get it.
The supply is the big thing. The supply is the big thing. So the PlayStation 5 has sold something like 19 or 20 million consoles, and it's behind track record for the PlayStation 4. But they have sold 100% of their inventory every single fucking year since the PlayStation 5 has been released because they can't produce enough.
Yeah, there's like over 100 million PS4s out there that have been sold. You gotta imagine some of them are like one broke or people bought multiples or something like that. But even still, you're looking at literally like probably 20% of the market has actually on the new generation. That's all. This is unprecedented. Like in previous generations, everybody had switched by now.
Yeah. Yep. Um they're at they sold 18 million. And it's a 56% rise in PlayStation sales because they were able to produce 56% more PlayStations this year. Uh, and it's like when you look at all the numbers and how everything lines up, you're like, oh, they're literally just selling as many. PlayStation's more upfront about their statistics, Xbox less so. But and actually in the last 3 months, Xbox has been the highest selling console. So again, they're, which it's so hard to tell at this point whether it's because they're able to produce more at the moment or whether it's because, like, it's weird when you say, we're the highest selling console during a pandemic with limited production, and it's like, well, are you producing more PlayStations are you producing more Xboxes than PlayStation? And they're like, yes. So we don't actually know. I mean, like, you're the highest selling because you had the most to sell when there's very little supply and a huge amount of demand.
Yeah,
Yes.
this generation is really hard for the console warriors.
Yeah, well, it's hard for, like, if you've got hardware from 2 to 3 years ago, I have a 3070 Ti. I had to fight tooth and nail for that fucking card. I usually upgrade every 2 years. I'm probably not going to be able to upgrade in the 5000 series. I'll probably have to wait till 6 or 7 and hold on to this 3070 for a while because of how unreasonably expensive it is right now. $500 graphics cards are going from anywhere between $9,000 to $2,000, depending on supply and limitability in some areas.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I need to upgrade my PC this year, and then I laughed at myself for saying that.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's probably not gonna happen. But yeah, I think like everything is getting delayed. I think this is gonna be the year of, like, 2 or 3 big games. We got like Elden Ring and maybe one other one. And then everything else is indie. It's gonna be one of those big indie years. Yeah. Well, that's an indie.
Yep. The other thing I'm super interested in here lately is there are stirrings of a Battlefield 2042 update.
I think I heard something about that.
There are stirrings that there's going to be specialist updates where specialists are going to have more traditional through-line type of classes. And they're going to start...
Didn't they, like, remove the 128 player mode? And yeah, they're making changes.
They didn't remove the 128 player mode. That's still there. It's so funny that it's still kind of like we're reaching like network limitations or computational power of network limitations, and so like it's difficult for the engine. It's not that you can't provide the bandwidth to seamlessly organize 128 players with limited lag and things like that. It's that the computational information to orchestrate 128 players in sync with that on a single server is the difficult bit, right? But so anyway, it's they're still going to keep the 128 player mode. Specialists are apparently going to go back to more of what they were in Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 1942 and Battlefield 2442 and Battlefield 1942 and like every Battlefield, every other fucking Battlefield except Battlefield 2042 has had this system where your class, your specialist class, levels up and unlocks new engineering stuff, or unlocks new heavy stuff, or unlocks new medic stuff, and then they can go use that in the field. There has never been this fucking issue where you just unlock things all at once, whenever you want, all together, all. Who the fuck designed that? Anyway, apparently they're updating that to be less shit, and be more streamlined. They're bringing back the scoreboard. They're introducing their first actual season of content. So a bunch of really interesting shit. And I'm with it. I'm ready for it. I can't wait to see. I'm so should. Speaking of seasonal content, um, this is what's gonna bring me back around to V Rising for a second. There's no season pass. There's no seasonal content. There's no. You buy the game and you have the fucking game.
I think for a game like that, that actually makes sense. If it did have seasonal content, I might, because that's, I know people love it in like Diablo and stuff, but I'm like, no.
Oh, but there's so many single player games that have seasonal content nowadays, and I'm just like, why? And to be honest with you, it's not even a single player game. It is a multiplayer, purpose built PvP game that just happens to have a lot of really nice PvE content. That's what V Rising is. And so you could actually make a battle pass fit in that game very easily.
All right, so I'm reading here what they did to Battlefield, and they're talking about they're gonna have a new blog up soon about season 1 apparently. So there's stuff coming, but they removed the 128 player version of Breakthrough, not just that
right,
just Breakthrough, but yeah, now there's only a 64 person Breakthrough because they were having problems with the 128 version.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. Sorry, I mixed that up and I wanted to look up what I had. Yeah.
Yep. Man, I just,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm all for, making a game better, and improving it, and like, but this game, I don't know. You're gonna have to let me know. I'm in the same boat you are with me.
No, you're in the same bait. You're right.
I'm in the same boat you are with me in Division, where I'm just like, yeah, let me know how it is, and then I might get back into it. I'll keep an eye on it, but I'm just like, just the release of it. I was like, nah, I'm done.
Bro, I feel you. Battlefield 2042, I played maybe 50 or 60 hours total, which is really low for a Battlefield.
I didn't even get that much.
Yeah, that's really low for me in a Battlefield game, and I just kind of hit this point where I was like, there's nothing to do, and there's not a lot of maps, and there's not really any good maps. So I'm done. And that was just it. I just kind of quit playing, but it was like, there's no meaningful progression for my weapons or any of that bullshit. So I think I'm just gonna stop playing. It was hilariously shocking to me that this is still a thing. What is wrong with making players feel good? What is wrong with rewarding players for things they did so that the player goes, that was nice? It seems like nobody wants to do that anymore because they could have gotten dollars out of it instead of player satisfaction. And I feel like if you're not it's like a girl. You can give her all the money in the world. Actually, I don't know. Some women are... Boy, this is a bad topic I've stumbled us into, Brian.
Yeah. Reel it back.
Anyways, that's the live service podcast for this week. Thank you guys for watching. Brian, anything you want to say before we run screaming from this incident?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull everybody away from that and give them a crackpot thing to comment on about. All right, they're all gonna yell at me and tell me I'm crazy. This is my theory. All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw this out. This is my prediction.
All right.
That everybody's gonna distree with. It's this wild prediction. You know, the next big game that's gonna like have the big comeback. You know how we had like like No Man's Sky and Final Fantasy 14 and stuff. You know what the next big comeback is? Avengers.
Of what?
Yep. It's the next big comeback because Embracer bought Crystal Dynamics. They're gonna put more money into it. Avengers is gonna have a comeback. That's my next prediction. Everybody yell at me.
You mean like You mean like players returning because of new content? Because I don't think that game is serviceable.
I think they're gonna put money into it and make it a good game, and people are gonna come back to it. That's what I'm saying. It's gonna be like No Man's Sky is, where everybody hated it and then now they love it.
I
It's the next
think if
comeback
that
story.
happens, it'll have to be with a Avengers #2. I don't think that first game is serviceable.
No, this is my theory. I'm not saying it's actually gonna happen. I'm saying
Sure.
I'm saying it's gonna happen so that you can all yell
Right.
at me. No, but there's actually I'm kind of being funny, but there is some positive news in that. Like the developers themselves
Yeah.
are talking about how they had like a great day of
Of
meetings and like they're
course.
putting out new content and stuff. But that's just, this is
Well,
this is the next big comeback game.
Can you imagine putting out a game like Guardians of the Galaxy and then being told by your publisher, "No, you guys did a terrible job. It didn't sell enough."
Yeah, I know. I gotta say, it
And
sucks for them to work on this Square Enix.
yeah, and you're like, "But I thought we made a really good game. We put a lot of heart and soul into it." And they're like, "No, your game's fucking trash. It didn't sell enough." Like, bro, how much heartbreak? You just like shitting in your employees' faces? Like, fuck you. No, you're not good enough, no matter how much we pay you, unfortunately. Like, what the fuck? Fuck you. The Japanese are a bunch of closeted racist cunts, if you ask me.
Yeah, in more serious note, because I want everybody to yell at me, but in a more serious note, whether it's through like a new game or whatever, because it was actually a pretty fun game. I hope they do make something out of that, and I hope Eidos Montreal and Crystal Dynamics are able to be in a better place now. And my hope is on Embracer, not really for that, more for Legacy of Kain. Embracer, give us Legacy of Kain. That's what I want.
This is Brian's
right
Christmas wish list.
Legacy of Kain. All of them.
If you couldn't hear him beforehand,
I will give
you
the $100+ for that game.
To steal from chat, from Ben, the true comeback this year is going to be Heroes of the Storm.
Oh, okay.
When they when they add Master Chief as a playable character, and they give him the Master Cheeks skin. Which is just Pablo Escobar or no, Pablo Schreiber naked.
So we could have Master Chief with a Master Chef outfit and a Master Chief with a Master Cheeks outfit. This is great.
Yeah,
wonderful.
Pablo Schreiber is not Master; he's Master Chef.
Yeah. He's actually a pretty good actor, but that show is just
no, he's not. He's fucking awful. Actually, it's not even Master Chef. It's Mr. Chef. We don't want it even getting close anymore.
The old emote that looks hard. Like, never mind. But yeah,
it's don't want him anywhere. Honestly, I'll tell you something. I'm sure he's probably an okay guy. Right,
I've seen him in other stuff, and he's actually a pretty decent actor when he's given good stuff.
But I'm sure he's. I don't really care about. I think he's a terrible actor. I don't really care how good or bad he is as an actor. I'm like focused on him as a person. I'm sure he's a good person. What I fucking hate.
Thank you.
Thank
you, Daddy.
Obviously,
I refuse to watch that show.
I think it's part of his character. God damn it, chat. I think it's part of his character. But he's commenting on his show that he's in, right? And he's saying like, for all you guys that love it and all this stuff, yeah. One of the things that like just kind of like triggered me a little bit, I got triggered admittedly, was there was an article from a no-name website saying how the new Halo series is the penultimate of storytelling and set a new gold standard. And he retweeted that. Pablo Schreiber retweeted that and said, "Thank you for the incredibly intelligent and insightful article." And I'm just like, do you sniff your own farts for like inhalation at night to put you to sleep, dude?
Three things. One, I agree. 2, well, maybe 2 things. I don't know. Yeah. 1, I agree. 2, come on now. So yeah, 3 things. He's an actor, so he has to like, hype himself up. 3, let's be honest, that wasn't him. That's some social media manager running his account.
No, it's him.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It is totally him that runs this. It is definitely he, especially some of the shit he says. It's him, motherfucker. He's running this shit. 100%.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Because he says some
I'm
shit.
honest, I've checked out. I'm not seeing what they're saying.
Oh
about it.
yeah. I don't. Nobody blames you for checking out. Nobody. Absolutely nobody. Dude, there was actually a fucking before we kind of close out. There was a thing I saw that had me like, huh? Because I didn't know whether I should take it seriously, or not. There was it looked legitimate, but it turned out to be fake. There was a announcement saying they're so excited by season 1 of Halo, the TV show. They're changing how they're moving forward with the second season. The second season is going to be a prequel that's all about that girl's life leading up to Before the Covenant. And I saw that, and I it was a joke, but I literally had to go, what is this real? Because I couldn't, like, it's so insane and ridiculous and far-fetched. I'm like, obviously that's stupid, but it's stupid enough for them to do it, so I don't know now.
Please no. I don't even want a season 2. It'll probably get one, but please no. But since we complain too much, I'm gonna end this on a very, very positive note. You ready for it, Guns?
Sure.
2 weeks until The Boys season 3.
Oh shit!
2 weeks.
I forgot about that.
We got Mr. Supernatural as Soldier Boy. Shit looks good, man. I don't know if you've seen the latest.
Yeah, I've seen. So you know what else? We've got less than that until Obi-Wan
coming out. Yeah, Obi-Wan's coming out in like 2 weeks.
Obi-Wan, dude.
Next month's gonna be packed with some good shit.
I'm so excited for Obi-Wan. Like, Ewan McGregor,
we're definitely gonna be talking
so
about
good.
it on the show here.
And I mean, like, we all know what happens. Like, Obi-Wan lives, and Darth Vader's emo crybaby of the galaxy. But motherfucker, I'm still excited.
Yeah, I'm still excited. There's still good stories.
All right. Okay, we'll get out of here. Thank you guys for watching Live Service, the podcast that is as live service as the rest of the games you play. We have no idea what's coming next, neither do you. That's the fun about it. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you for watching. I'm Guns. You can follow me at twitter.com/, twitter.com/, I think the @ symbol, at the number 3 GUNSDOWN. Or you can watch me live on Twitch or on YouTube. You can catch the VOD. Brian, you can follow at 7BitBrian on Twitter. He doesn't really do anything else at the moment. But we're gonna
do, but it's
well,
D&D.
it doesn't stream it.
Yeah.
So you don't do anything else.
I got you.
If you don't,
just come to Twitter
you do nothing.
and tell me how right I am about Avengers being the next big comeback.
Fuck off. And goodbye, everybody. I'm taking him away from his microphone. See you.